congratulations about for 65. I got to check it out yesterday. It is a lot of fun. It is kind of exactly what you want from a movie where Adam Driver's trying to shoot dinosaurs with a laser.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Kind of started off and kind of starting from there because you both, you directed, you wrote, you produced this film, and clearly there's something about 65 that really speaks to the both of you as creators. So what is it about this story that really compelled you, that made it vital to kind of bring to life like this?
I mean, Scott and I, as filmmakers, we've known each other since we were 11 years old. And at that young age, we were huge dinosaur fans. It's just unavoidable. Dinosaurs are so almost incomprehensible. It's hard to wrap your kind of 11-year-old brain around the fact that there were these massive creatures that walked on the same earth that we live on today. And around that same time, we fell in love with making movies, and it's kind of been a weird, long dream of ours to one day attempt to make a dinosaur film.
Finally got the opportunity.
Yeah.
That was finally the chance. Because something else I love about the film, though, is that it strikes this really unique balance, because it's not just dinosaurs and lasers and stuff like that, but it is also a survivalist thriller. It's also I love how Adam described it earlier. It's a story about grief in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
How did you both kind of approach the story and keep true to all of those kind of elements without letting one kind of overwhelm the other?
It is a tricky balance, because the movie, we keep saying it's like Roland Emmerich meets Terrence Malick, where there's these two different disparate tones, but there's a way to combine them, because it is a survivalist thriller. It is this roller coaster, but amidst that, you're seeing these two characters that are at odds with each other, but that's in part because they both are dealing with their own sense of loss and their own sense of grief. And I think it stemmed from, at the writing process, thinking thematically about what the extinction of the dinosaurs really meant. And there was something incredibly sad about it, but also poignant about the rebirth of life in the wake of destroying almost every single piece of life on this earth, and that civilization eventually developed with our society. And in the same way with the characters of Mills and Koa, they're both at a transitionary period in life where you can either stop in your tracks and give up and say, that's it for me, or you can find a way to forge ahead and find a new way to move forward. And so we're always kind of guiding the script underneath that lens, while still trying to service, the aspect of the movie that we are proud to say it's a B movie concept. Like, it's something really fun that we would want to see as 8-year-olds as much as we would want to see, as 40-year-olds. So.
I love that sentiment, because my wife is so excited to see the film, because she is somebody who has so many good memories of watching sci-fi original movies with her mother. So it's scratching that itch that you didn't know you needed scratch. Now, one of the things I love about the film so much, and that I'm a big fan of silent film in general. I find something really compelling about telling a story through this visual medium with just the visuals.
Yeah.
And this film, you both obviously have experience with that, with the quiet place and everything. But why was it important to kind of approach this film with that element in mind?
I'm so glad that you're highlighting that element of the film, because it was the bar that we all set for ourselves, including Adam, that we felt like if we did our jobs right, you could put this movie on mute and watch it and be able to follow the whole story. And everything had to live up to that standard when we're doing a scene. So when we're putting a scene together, and we're working with Adam for his character of Mills, it's like, are you expressing non-verbally what the audience needs from you emotionally and also narratively? And that's a challenge, and it's a fun challenge. But I think it comes from just our love of silent film. We have kind of heard these romantic stories about Charlie Chaplin's City Lights, and how that was like a silent film that was made after they had sound. Like, they could have put sound in there and they could have had dialogue, but Chaplin chose not to, because he was nostalgic for silent film, and how City Lights he talked about how it like traveled the whole world, and there was no language barrier. It could play in every single country. And I think we love that idea. And that was something we tried to do with A Quiet Place. It's something we're trying to do here again. We just love this idea of bringing the world together by way of cinematic language.
I love City Lights, so anytime I hear City Lights come up, I'm just ecstatic. that is quietly kind of my pick for best movie. Just movie. Love that film. Kind of speaking of it, I find that so fascinating. And speaking to your experiences with specifically with The Quiet Place, like, did you take any lessons from that film, from that experience, and kind of find them being applicable with 65?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a degree at which, with this film, as much as it is, this action-packed film, it's about also caring about the characters. And that was something that, we can write on the page all we want with the script for A Quiet Place, but ultimately it comes down to the execution and the performance of John and Emily and Noah and Millicent. And so we really admired kind of the approach that everyone took there. I would also say on a more superficial level, the opening weekend of A Quiet Place, we had zero expectations of if that movie was going to be embraced or not. It's not based on anything else, and so it's a wild card. And when opening weekend happened, and we were grateful enough that people were loving the film, that to us empowered us a bit to be like, okay, this crazy dinosaur idea that we've been sitting on for years, let's actually go finish the script for that. And so 65 was to a certain degree really born on that opening weekend of A Quiet Place, because nobody's asking for another dinosaur movie, but we're also over here being like, why does Spielberg get to have all the fun? We got to see more dinosaur movies in the movie theater. So this was our attempt at taking a wild swing in that.
This is how we break up the dinosaur monopoly that is controlled by Spielberg and Trevor. So I'm also, just because you guys are so involved, I'm so excited for day one. I don't know how much you guys are involved in that one that's coming up. I'm so excited. If there's anything you can share with that, so I can get my editors off like that.
No, I mean, nothing that we're allowed to say necessarily, other than because of the nature of it being this spin-off movie of day one. Michael, who's directing it, we couldn't be bigger fans of. Seeing his film Pig was just such an incredible cinematic exercise in taking Nick Cage, but doing something very tonally nuanced and special. And there's so many great scenes in that movie. And so to have his talent on the spinoff is just wildly exciting to us.
Now, this is something that I really wanted to ask you guys as soon as I got out of the film yesterday, because nobody screams in existential rage quite like Adam Driver. Like, it's such a unique, perfect talent-based guy. Yeah. And it's so perfectly kind of suited for this film. I was so curious, kind of stepping out of it. Was there ever any debate internally? Was that always who you guys imagined and envisioned in this role of Mills? Was there anybody else that you kind of considered at any point?
No, I mean, there were two people in our mind when we wrote the script, and it's going to sound maybe comical, and yet in our brains, this makes perfect sense. Okay. We imagined Adam Driver and we imagined Tom Cruise, and those were the two people, and they were two different versions of this movie. And we were on the precipice of handing the script to Tom Cruise. His reps had already read it and really liked the project, and they were waiting for our signal to hand it to him. And we decided in the 11th hour, we were like, actually, we think don't give it to Tom. We're actually like kind of more excited about this Adam Driver version.
And I think like one of the things that we adore about Adam is he is so incredibly grounded and natural in everything. We're fans of his work with Jim Jarmusch, Marriage Story, obviously, and first, like the rest of the world, saw him in HBO's Girls. And there's like a degree of homework that he does. And one of the great rewarding aspects of this process before he even went in front of cameras was sitting down with Adam and going page by page and just talking about like, what's the nuance of this scene and what's the physicality of this scene. There was even one section of the film where he's just running through the forest at full sprint. And he saw that as opportunity to transform from what Mills was to what Mills needs to be for Koa as they're trying to survive. And then there's also was a degree of us talking about Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 3. He has this great run that lasts about 20 seconds. And Adam and ourselves were like, what if we beat that? What if we shoot like a 21-second version of it just out of a fun challenge? And so we actually, I don't think the full version of it is in the movie, but we're pretty damn close, and we have it somewhere on our dailies. We have the receipts for that. So.
Yeah, I mean, Adam's just this great, people think of his dramatic work, but he's a great physical actor, and he does all of his own stunts. And I mean, for us, he could be the next major action star if he wanted to.
It's got such great presence. You're right, and kind of whatever he throws himself into. I also just love the idea that you guys almost went with Cruise and then decided, screw it, let's out Cruise. Scott, Bryan, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me today. Congratulations again on the film. I am so excited for everybody else to get to see it. Have a great rest of your evening at this point.
Yeah,
great rest of afternoon. I don't have many more of these you got to get through. And I really hope I get to talk to you both again soon.
Same.
Likewise,
thank you so much.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Yes.